Hi, my name is Rob Scott from UC Today, and welcome to our monthly Microsoft Teams news update. And as always, I'm joined by Tom Arbuthnot, UC Solutions Architect, Microsoft Certified Master, and MVP. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, Rob, how's it going?
Very good, thanks. Very good. The hairdressers are open.
We're both looking a bit better than last time, I think.
Yeah, certainly looking better than last time, and the pub's open as well, so I'm even happier about that. How's life down there?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Keeping busy as always. It's all go as usual. But as you say, things are starting to open up here in the UK, so that's a little bit better.
Absolutely. And the world of UC and Microsoft Teams doesn't seem to be slowing any. We've got a big update today. So why don't we dive straight in? What's top of your list for May?
Yeah, so top of the list has to be the new daily active user number. So as of recording, this just came out the other day, 145 million daily active users of Teams now. So that's pretty much. I mean, and it's to give some context. April last year, the announcement was 44 million. So we've gone up over 100 million in 12 months. I mean, obviously, wow. The world events have massively accelerated that. But either way you look at it, that's a crazy number for daily active.
Yeah, and it's 30 million. Since the last update, isn't it? Which is significant, isn't it? I mean,
that's it. The growth is not slowing down, and you think at some point you start hitting kind of capacity of customers, but actually there's still a lot more to go.
So that is daily active users, it's not customers, it's not registered users, it is active users.
Yes, that's it. The number of licensed users will be way higher. I mean, the number of licensed users for Office 365 at the last announcement was 300 million, I think, licensed. So that's the interesting thing, is there's still actually, even if you don't count net new customers, there's still a long way for Teams to go within the licensed base to get more daily active. And also that's daily active. They count, I'll just read it out here, they count any activity in 24 hours, any deliberate activity. So not auto logins or auto kind of startups, but you have to click something, do something, reply to a chat. So it's not just, a lot of people say, it's just because they're auto installed, but it's not that. This is some kind of action. Yeah. But I mean, lots of those might only be chat users, might only be meetings users. So you've still got lots of growth potential there for telephony, for more collaboration. So it's pretty exciting times.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are in that Microsoft world, or you've got Microsoft 365 within your business, it just seems like a natural choice for collaboration now, and it's so far out in front in terms of numbers now and capability. It's all to play for. So
definitely, it's interesting market wise to see how how that's going to play out over the next 12 months. I mean, you'd assume the growth would slow down a bit, but on the other hand, Microsoft are pushing more and more features in. Satya said that this year, they've just had the quarterly announcements. This year they're adding more ISVs, more third parties getting involved, so there's still a lot to play for.
Well, I'm sure they're going to get a few more letters from Slack in the future, no doubt. So we'll see.
Yeah. I think it's Zoom is the hot contention at the moment on the phone system front. We'll see how, because they're pushing hard as well. So I think Zoom Phone versus Teams Phone will be really interesting.
Absolutely. Okay, right. Well, let's move on from the DAU. What's next on your list, Tom?
Yes, another huge one. Microsoft have acquired Nuance, who are a kind of AI and voice recognition specialist is their current tagline, but a lot of people listening to us will know them from the contact center voice space, no doubt. I'm sure you came across them in your past.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you go a bit further back, absolutely, you can pick up that they are a contact center business and always have been, really, omni-channel play. And we were talking about that, weren't we? In the Microsoft Teams predictions for 2021 in January that we released, a couple of people said that they predicted a contact center acquisition.
Yeah, the interesting thing is Microsoft have positioned the press release very much as they're buying it for AI in healthcare, and Nuance have a massive penetration of the healthcare market. I mean, they've got 77% of US hospitals and 85% of Fortune 100 companies have some kind of Nuance tech in there. So Microsoft didn't position it like this is an addition to Teams particularly. They said this is AI and machine learning and voice recognition. But I mean, obviously for us, it's super interesting because there's no doubt that tech's going to go into the voice platform, the Azure platform, and therefore at some point start appearing in Teams and ACS as well.
Yep, and you never know. Even platforms like Microsoft Dynamics, could even get some contact center, functionality built in, like that Salesforce have done with who they've done
with Slack.
Yeah, they've got Slack, but they've also got Amazon Connect.
The integration. Well. Microsoft specifically said this will come together for Azure Teams Dynamics 365 to deliver next generation customer engagement. So it's a massive acquisition as well. I think it's the second biggest at 19.7 billion after LinkedIn as well. So it's a pretty big number. But yeah, it's just, again, it's kind of showing the big cloud players have this kind of money to throw around because they're doing multiple things. They'll get revenue out of that on the Azure platform side. They'll get revenue out of that in Dynamics. They'll get revenue out of that in Teams, which I think makes it harder and harder for the next level UC players to compete, because how do you spend 19 billion on tech for just UC? It's tough.
Yeah, impossible for a lot of brands.
Well, yeah, pretty much if you look at the math to it, yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on from Nuance, but I'm sure we're going to see much more on that going forward once it gets bedded in and things start to happen from a
definitely. We'll be keeping a close eye on it because that's a big spend, and you've seen LinkedIn go actually from strength to strength since Microsoft bought them. So it'll be interesting to see when you spend that much money, you're looking to get a return on it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so next on the list we said we'd talk about Android. You've got a bit of an update here, Tom.
Yeah, Android devices. So typically IP phones, but also some of the Android-based room systems. So Microsoft are just getting more and more in bed with the idea of Android being a good platform for their meeting rooms and for their devices. And now they've added some remote provisioning. So this is one of the big asks for people who are rolling out physical devices, is lots of competing platforms have an ability to take a MAC address for a device off the box, drop ship it to a customer and have it pop up and sign in, basically. And this is a step in that direction. So you'll now be able to put MAC addresses, which are a physical hardware address of a device, into the Teams admin portal, drop ship the product, and when the product turns up, the on-site hands type in a code, and then the admin can remote provision it. So basically you don't have to have experts with usernames and passwords or end customers logging in IP phones. You can have an admin or a remote person sort of take on some of that provisioning pain.
So in this work from home world and work from anywhere world, it's actually a very useful feature, that, isn't it, by sounds?
Yeah, definitely. Like you don't really, when you're doing phone rollouts, you don't really want to have to ship them to one place then ship them to another. So if you can drop ship them directly to home, as you say, or directly to site, that makes a big difference. The other part of this is they have code-based logins as well. So again, even if you didn't do the Mac-based provisioning, if you drop these devices, try boot them up, they will come up with a code, like an alphanumeric code. You can jump into a browser on your phone or your PC and log the phone in with your username and password in the browser. So you might have seen this, like iPlayer does it, Netflix do it. So you don't have to put in your massive email address and complex password directly into the tiny phone keypad. You can just do it in a browser, which is really slick, especially when if you're dealing with lots of devices. It makes life a lot easier.
Oh yeah, I mean it drives me mad when I have to do that with a remote control, through the television.
Yeah.
When you have a complex password as well, it's a nightmare.
That's it. And selfishly, I fortunately get to play with lots of devices. I have a garage full of different bits and pieces, and having to type in your long, tom.arbuthnot at Medalli Systems is not trivial, and then a ridiculous password. Suddenly being able to put in codes is so much easier. So great for user experience, and it makes it way easier particularly if you're dealing with scenarios where people are logging in and out of phones, like a hot desking type scenario. It just makes it all a bit slicker.
Great stuff. Well, keeping on the theme of endpoints, Microsoft launched some new products recently. Let's talk about that, because I think it's really interesting.
It is super interesting. So Microsoft obviously have a hardware business, the Surface business, and even before the Surface business exists, they've always been kind of in hardware. You always had the Microsoft keyboard and mice, the Microsoft webcams, but it's never been front and center. And when Surface came along and started doing things like headphones, people were asking, well, why are they not Team certified? Where are the Team certified ones? So now the Surface team have come out with certified headsets. Both are kind of fancy over-ear, type headset, and the more traditional Bluetooth headset and wired headsets. And these are Surface branded from Microsoft and first party. They've also come out with a refreshed webcam and a speakerphone. So they're very much getting into the space that's traditionally partner ecosystem.
I was going to say, why would they do this? When they've got such a, flourishing, partner base that's, they've got Jabra in there, Poly and Yealink and all these other brands.
Yeah. Sennheiser and Bose and everybody's in that mix now.
There's so many, but why would they do this?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Cisco got a lot of slack a few years ago when they did this as well. They went from third party to first party, and a lot of the partners weren't super impressed. I don't know. Microsoft have had the same challenge in the PC space, so that they're in the PC space, but they're competing with their ecosystem. They've always positioned their Surface things as like high-end and aspirational and inspirational, and there's plenty of room for the ecosystem. So I imagine they're going to have the same pitch, but actually some of these things are fairly aggressively priced. From a features and functionality point of view, they're nothing special compared to the ecosystem. So actually, price for price, pound for pound, there's still plenty of competitiveness in there. But I guess the Surface business wants a piece of that market, and also it's a very confusing message to customers if you build headsets and you build a UC platform and yet the two are not certified. So just from a practical point of view, I imagine they have lots of stick from customers saying, well, I'm buying 300,000 PCs from you guys, I'm buying Surface devices, I'm an Office 365 M365 customer, I've got all my platform, but your headsets don't work with your other two things. So I think in some ways they've got to play nicely with their own platform, but hopefully they'll leave plenty of room for the ecosystem partners, because they're the ones that drive innovation in this space for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And it'd be interesting to see how that plays out, and whether what the real reason for these products is it purely financial, commercial, customer experience. I don't know, but that's really interesting news, and one that we'll see whether they expand their portfolio going forward.
Yeah, and we'll see how much we see them in the real world and how hard they're pushed and stuff. Will they be bundling them into the big enterprise deals? Quite often with Surface hardware, they'll do special deals if you're buying thousands or tens of thousands of units. So will we start seeing headsets being there, or will they be an option but not pushed? It would be interesting to see. Yeah,
indeed. Okay, so what's next on the list, Tom?
Yeah, so next is another interesting, slightly controversial one. Microsoft have obviously Teams, we know it, we talk about it as an enterprise platform, but they also have a Teams for personal, or a kind of consumer option, and it hasn't been a massive hit. I mean, certainly if you look at like the likes of WhatsApp or iMessage or anything else in the consumer space, I think that's going to be way bigger. But Microsoft don't seem to want to let go of the personal space, and now they're pushing banner ads, I would call them, like banner promotions into the Teams mobile client for enterprise users to say, hey, did you know you could use this in your personal life? Sign in with your Outlook, or your Hotmail address, which I think is coming close to or crossing a line, depending on who you think, how you think about it, from providing a paid product and starting to promote yourself in that product. And it's not just this, it's a line that Microsoft have to walk on a lot of their technology, because they have consumer email, they have consumer OneDrive. Where do they draw the line on promotion of their consumer products in the enterprise space?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? They're so well known. Why would they do that? But obviously they're trying to push this personal mobile client.
Yeah, and they do have an option to opt out of it, and they've I spoke to Microsoft quite a bit about this, and at the moment you have to raise a support ticket and say we don't want it, but they're going to bring something to the admin control panel to say, hey, I'm not interested in you promoting to my users. So there is a way to opt out, but personally I'd like to see that as an opt-in rather than an opt-out. If I'm paying for your enterprise product, I don't expect you to push your consumer product to my enterprise users. That's just my opinion. We'll see. And Microsoft are listening really hard to customer feedback on this. So if you see the show notes, check out the blog. There's a link to fill in your feedback and raise support tickets and stuff. So if you have strong opinions on this, now is the time to make them heard, because I know they're taking it really seriously.
Interesting. Okay. Great stuff. Well, we said we'd talk about the advanced communication license again today. So what's the latest on that?
Yeah, so Advanced Com license, the saga continues. So this was the license that originally you paid extra. $5 per user per month is the current price on promotion, and originally it was the license to unlock the contact center APIs and the compliance recording APIs. So if you needed those features on a user by user basis, you had to have that license. Pretty quickly, I think within weeks, if not a month or two, Microsoft rolled back that decision because lots of people felt that you shouldn't have to pay extra for those APIs because you've already bought the product. So the license kind of sat around as covering meeting branding, which boils down to a logo in the lobby for a meeting and not much else, with promise of more to come. And now they've added a feature to it so that if you want to push background images as an enterprise admin, you want to give your users options of professional branded background images for your company. If you have the advanced comms license, you can tick a couple of boxes on the admin center and make those backgrounds available to the end users. Nice feature, I think, but is it worth $5 a user a month for that feature? I'm not convinced it is, and it's weird to me when you've got crazy value like say contact center going in at E3 level. So sorry, not contact center, webinars going in at E3 level, completely no additional license, but then they're trying to monetize additional features like background images. It just seems a bit odd to me.
Yeah, it does seem a bit odd, doesn't it? And again, is there enough value for $5 per user per month? I mean, that that's going to stack up for a lot of organizations. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether they, eventually pull it, or they just keep adding enough value in there to really, I suppose, warrant the additional investment.
Yeah, they've said that some kind of new real-time reporting is coming next, and we've seen previews of real-time reporting in the Teams admin center. So there's a feature that I think you might be able to justify, like for my important VIP meetings, I want to know what's going on in real time quality-wise. So I think that might be more justifiable, but I mean it's list $12 per user per month and on a promo at $5, so it's a lot of extra money, and clearly Microsoft have a challenge. They've set out these E3 E5 licenses. They pump a ton of value in them. If you look at the evolution of Office 365, Microsoft 365, they've added feature after feature after feature and kept the price fairly static. But now they're clearly looking at new ways to monetize around this kind of stuff, around Viva, around some of the other advanced stuff around SharePoint. So it's a tension that I appreciate Microsoft have to walk, where they want to add additional revenue and additional value. They're a commercial company, but it's just interesting to watch how they comms it and where they draw the line.
Yeah, indeed. There's never a straight line.
No.
There's always something in question, isn't there, with Microsoft? But anyway, it's a big company and they've got lots going on, I imagine. So that's it.
Lots of moving parts, and they're doing their best to communicate it. So again, keep the feedback coming. That's what they always say when these things come out, is feedback. Particularly if you have account managers and you're an enterprise customer, you do have that feedback loop to address those kind of questions.
Indeed. So, well, that's it for today on the news front. Lots of big news there. So thanks for that, Tom. You've got some plugs. You said a couple of events coming up.
Yeah, 2 events coming up in the next few days, actually, depending on when you're listening to this pod. So 11th of May, the Petri Get IT Day. I did this last year. This is a virtual event all around Teams, and I'm doing a session on choosing the right Teams devices, which I'm really excited about because there's so much going on in the device space. You've now got the collaboration bars are now Teams Rooms for Android. You've got Teams Rooms for Windows. You've got the Teams displays, the outside of room systems. So I'll be going through all the different device options from kind of personal devices right up to room systems. And then the next day, 12th of May, is the Teams Nation Community Conference, which I'm speaking about your contact center options, but there's also tons of good sessions in that throughout the day. It's a whole free community-driven conference. I'd highly recommend the speaker list from Microsoft and third parties is pretty impressive. So 2 events I recommend you look out for.
Fantastic, Tom, and yeah, wish you all the best at those events. So it sounds like a couple of really good sessions as well, because there's so much to consider, isn't there, when looking at your options and evaluating those brands and products. So
yeah, definitely, and I deliberately kind of choose those sessions because they are quite complex areas. The devices, there's a plethora of options, and contact center, as you know from some of your coverage, is just exploding at the moment. Every contact center seems to be team certified, so it's working out which is the way to go is quite interesting, I think.
Fantastic, thanks, Tom. And if you're looking for more information on these topics, of course, you can jump on UC Today, or you can jump on Tom's blog as well. So that's it from us. And if you've enjoyed today's session, please subscribe to UC Today News and give this video a quick share on social, as it's always appreciated. And if you're a Microsoft Teams fan and want to be part of the conversation, you can connect with Tom or myself on LinkedIn and Twitter, and our social links are in the description. So I'm Rob Scott from UC Today. We'll be back again next month. Thanks for watching.